Hello everyone, and welcome to Videogame Vids, the show where I'm not sure if you can hear all the background noise, but I'm leaving this in, so I guess we'll find out. This week, we talk about Diablo Immortal, Doom on a Lego brick, Final Fantasy VII Remake news, Lollipop Chainsaw gets a return, and a PlayStation 5 Pro controller, maybe. Diablo Immortal makes $20 million. In the show, we've talked about Diablo Immortal a couple of times now. I think it's the third time we mention it. And last time, we discussed how it was the worst reviewed game, PC game of all time with a 0.2 Metacritic score. User score, I think, actually. Now, this is still true. It is still the worst scored game of all time. But that did not stop the game from making $20 million for Blizzard. That's insane, right? And it goes to show how you don't actually have to make a good game to make a lot of money. And the sad thing is, this kind of stuff will keep happening as long as we, the fans, keep supporting this stuff by throwing our money at it. So the only way to stop this is by spreading awareness. So here I go. I'm telling you guys, don't spend money on shit products. And I did curse there. I apologize. I'm also leaving that in. I'm leaving all the stuff in today. But don't spend your money on microtransactions on a game that is bad, because then people will keep making bad games. Play Doom now on a Lego brick? Remember when Skyrim was launching on all platforms, left, right, and center? It started on PlayStation 3, I think, and the Xbox 360, and then of course it was on PC. Actually, it was on PC first, not an important detail. The new consoles came out, and then it launched on all of those. Then it went to Switch, and then people started joking around about it launching on your fridge. It actually did launch on Alexa, so that went kind of insane, right? Well, looks like Doom is doing something very similar. Now, I specifically remember people playing Doom on their high-tech calculators at school, so it's not like this stuff never happened before. But now you can play it on a Lego brick. That's got to be the smallest version of Doom that exists so far. I mean, it's a 2x2 bricks or something like this. You can watch me building that for reference, I guess. But a 2x2 brick ain't big. What he used here was a transparent brick that has some programmable parts in the background, and the screen just displays Doom. It's pretty cool. It's pretty small, but I think it's awesome that he did this. I think it's a great way to show your love for video games. That being said, I'm not going to play Doom on a Lego brick. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Prequel launch this winter. Great news for fans of Final Fantasy, and specifically Final Fantasy VII and the remake. We are getting the second part of the remake finally this winter. We've also had confirmed that it will consist of 3 parts, so there will be one more after this. And we learned that there will also be a prequel called Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which is a mouthful, and that's also why I had to look, excuse me. So things are going to continue. Now, first of all, the second part of the remake will not be called Remake, it will be called Rebirth. There's a trailer in the link below. We see some new stuff. We see Cloud walking with Sephiroth a lot, which is interesting, because those two are not friends when we start the game. And there will be spoilers for the Final Fantasy VII Remake and the original Final Fantasy VII here, so if you don't want any of that, I suggest you skip until the next chapter of this video. Back to the stuff. In the original Final Fantasy VII, we it's probably the most famous video game death of all time, and that's let's not mention the name, we don't need that. But the thing about the remake is that we discover it's actually not a strict remake. There are moments when the game starts to divert from the original timeline, and it's actually a kind of time bending type thing where Aerith and Sephiroth are both aware of the events that happened in the original Final Fantasy VII, and they're trying to change that. So people are wondering, can we change the path and save this specific character that died? We don't know yet because it hasn't happened yet in the remake, but it might happen in part 2, because this death happens about halfway through the game, and if we assume that each part is 1/3 of the game, then it should logically happen in this second part. That being said, the prequel is also interesting, because it kind of comes forth from Zack dying. Zack is the mentor of main character Cloud, and also the first love of Aerith, who is another very popular and playable character in the game. But we learn in Remake Part 1, which is just called Remake, that Zack is alive in the remake. And now, the prequel, Crisis Core, which is also a Final Fantasy VII spin-off game that exists, I think, in 2009. I could be very wrong on that, but somewhere in the past, Crisis Core is an existing game where you play as Zack, and the same is true now, except this time, we know that Zack doesn't die at the end, so what happens? We're actually going to see new stuff, guys, and it's exciting. So if you can't wait for the winter, then you're just like me. I'm very excited about this. I want to see it. I want to see how the story continues. Lollipop Chainsaw makes a return. You might have heard of Lollipop Chainsaw, although chances are you've never played it. And that's because this game didn't make a lot of waves when it launched, both critically and commercially. But it managed to stick around for some reason, and actually I can tell you why that for some reason is. It's because the main character is a scantily clad cheerleader, which, I mean, I know teenage boys, and I've been a teenage boy, I know how this works. But people also tell me that it's actually, it's pretty good. It's not exceptional or anything. The gameplay is pretty generic, but it is fun, and the writing apparently is pretty funny. Now, I say all this without having played it, so don't quote me on any of this. I can tell you there is an achievement for you trying to look up the cheerleader, which is use skirt, and I think that the achievement is called I Swear It Was an Accident, so you can expect that kind of humor from this game. It's a zombie apocalypse title, and you are a cheerleader. I think you're trying to get revenge for something. Also, you're wielding a chainsaw. So, cheerleader with chainsaw. Now, the creator of Lollipop Chainsaw, who, and I gotta be honest, I forgot his name, and I cannot read the hiragana there, but his name is right there. Shared on Twitter that there's something coming up with Lollipop Chainsaw. Is it a prequel, a sequel, a remake? We do not know. He only says that it is on its way. This is part of him launching a new studio, so I guess this is gonna be one of their first projects. A PS5 Pro controller might be on its way. Tom Henderson has leaked information about the PlayStation 5 Pro controller. Now, if this was anyone, we would probably ignore this, but apparently Tom Henderson has leaked stuff and been right before, so this is why this leak is getting some attention. This PS5 Pro controller apparently is going to have removable joysticks. It'll have some extra buttons on the back and a removable grip. There are some other details. You can read all about it on the link that is in the description below. Apparently, the controller is going to be called Hunt, or it has the codename Hunt, and it might be called something else when it comes out. And let's just go through some of the features together. Eh? So like I said, removable analog sticks, trigger stops, interesting, and rear buttons, which I believe should be programmable, but I don't think I read that here. I read that somewhere else, so let's not quote that. Yeah, if you're looking for a better way or a more responsive way to play your PlayStation 5 games, or even PC games, honestly, because Steam these days is really good with picking up the PlayStation controller. For ages it was just the Xbox controller, but these days PlayStation works just as fine. If you're looking for that, this might be a good option. I personally hope that it still fits into the standard dock, because I don't feel like getting a new one or putting it somewhere else, you know? I like it when it's all uniform. That's all for this week's video game vids. come back next week for another one, or watch yesterday's board game bits. Also, I apologize for launching this video a bit late. I was dealing with some personal stuff and also background noise. I decided to wait for the background noise to disappear. Unfortunately, it did not, so now I'm just hoping that you can't hear it. Otherwise, I have to record this whole thing again. Bye!